Welcome back, everybody. It is a celebration of sorts. We have my fantabulous 54 right here. Yeah, that's right. Oh, sorry, my TIFF-54. That's what I meant to say. Yes, that's right. Myself, Nathaniel Ahart, Jack Uffer, and Alex Kent have returned from the Great White North Toronto International Film Festival 50. It was a jam-packed week from start to finish. We got there on Thursday the 4th. We left on Thursday the 11th. No, the irony that we all went home. 3 of us flew back to New York on 9/11. The irony is not lost on us. I'm never going to stop making that joke. But first things first, I'm just going to go like kind of round table order because this is going to be very fun, very loose, very casual. We're literally just talking about the insanity of the week that we've had. I'm just going to kind of go around all of us, talk to each one of you guys, talk about kind of what the festival was like this year, how many times you've been there before, you know, the usual, all that. So Nathaniel, starting with you, man, what was TIFF overall the experience like this year for you?
I mean, by far the best yet. I think for many reasons. But especially being pressed for the first time this year, it opened up so many opportunities, especially to see movies. I mean, me and the YouTube gang were hanging around for a while, and we're like, "What are we doing?" And then we're like, "Oh, there's a screening of Eternity," and they're like, "Okay, I guess we'll go." And then we wandered right in. I mean, I wasn't even planning on seeing that movie, but that's the thing, man. I mean, so many things popped up, and of course that extra, no other choice screening really came in handy. So definitely a lot of perks. And also, I think that led me to meeting so many different people. It just blows my mind, the people we met, and, just all great experiences all around, I would say. Just a beautiful, beautiful time. And I think easily it's going to be hard to top this festival for the rest of my festival going experience.
Yeah, I bet. Because this was number what? Number 2, number 3 that you'd been
Three,
to?
number three.
Wow,
Yep.
that's crazy. And you would say that getting there was definitely a lot better than the first time that you went, right? Or getting home, rather?
Anything was getting there better than the first time. Never use public transportation.
Oh, man.
At least
Yeah,
going there,
I'll have
do what
you
you want when you get back.
I'll have you tell that story at a later part. All right, going down to you, Jack, Mr. Swerve Master, the CEO of Sex Yourselves. This was how many times have you been to TIFF now?
This is my 3rd year, but this is like a year where I finally like maxed out like all my potential. Because last year I was just like, oh, I'll just do like 12 movies and it'll be fine. But this year I was just like, nah, bro, I got to go like super crazy. And I maxed out to like 20 movies.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think you saw more movies than all of us combined. I'm pretty sure.
Really?
I saw 24.
Okay, never mind. So Nathaniel still holds a record because I only hit.
Well, yeah, I know he saw way more than us, but yeah, I really liked this year. I think it's like getting better and better like each time I'm coming back. I think it's also probably because like I have more like mutuals around Toronto, so I'm just like, hey, like I know you guys are going to like TIFF, like let's meet up and all that. And especially you guys also as well. It was like a really nice kind of like vacation for all of us. So yeah, it was really great.
Yeah, Nathaniel, I got to give you props for this one too, because you kind of like putting this 4 together of all one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know what it is about your ability to like put certain groups of people together, but like, man, you truly do have a gift when it comes to that. All right, Alex, so you like me, I believe this was your first TIFF, right?
Yeah, so I'm the newbie here. Was not even a film major, just a film buff from the get-go. But it was my first TIFF. I guess I'm going to use the term that Dom wants us, TIFF-y. First TIFF.
Let's go. Let's fucking go.
Before it starts.
It is a thing.
But Dom is hosting us, so gotta be there for that. Once again, it was a great time. I think everything that Nathaniel has hyped the last few years totally blew out of the water my expectations. So once again, I gotta say this: Jack, Dominic, and Nathaniel, you guys know everyone there. We're not even in the United States anymore, and you guys are formulating just one event after another. Obviously, there was a ton of movies along the way. I myself went to 12 of them, and that's still a ton for me, but either way, it was premieres with star-studded events, the red carpets, and everything fun there. And then on the side, I went to a Blue Jays game, went to the Hockey Hall of Fame. So I tried to make the most out of my first time going to Toronto. So overall, first of many TIFFs for me.
Yeah, I was about to say, because you're equally a sports guy just as much as a film guy. You know, you have the Eagle. Who are the Eagles against? Going up against right now?
They're facing Mahomes. So.
Mahomes are the Chiefs. So yeah, so the Chiefs are already going to lose that. But yeah, because you're just as easily a sports guys who are movie guys. So you definitely got a lot out of that as well. So that was really cool. Yeah, for me, this was, my first TIFF. I'd been to a couple film festivals before, the couple of Tribeca film festivals that we went to when we were in college as well. And I've been to a couple of New York Film Festival screenings. But like, I live in New York, so those don't feel as special for me. Those started to feel a little bit more disconnected. They don't feel special. I don't see as many celebrities when I go there. It's a matter of what screens I can get. I never get the press pass, so I always have to pay for tickets, and I can never go to the actual events because when you don't have a press pass, man, those tickets are expensive. But Nathaniel and I were both able to get press passes, which was really cool. And that I was not expecting to get because, Nathaniel, this is your third year going. This is only my first year going. Did not expect to get the press pass at all, but I was very, very happy about it. I was able to get pretty much all the screenings and all the movies that I wanted to. I think the only major movies that I missed that I had on my list initially to watch were Frankenstein and Roofman. And because Rental Family, you guys saw and you said that wasn't really that good.
It was good, but it's not.
It was
like,
fine.
Maybe people were hoping it was going to be. And it's funny.
No.
Trailer for when I saw Twinless yesterday, and I'm like, oh, it looks cute, it looks fun, but also like I feel like it may have been a little bit underwhelming overall compared to kind of some of the other movies that we saw.
Well, I saw it like way back in January, so I was like high on it.
Oh, you saw it already. Oh, wait, was that a Sundance movie?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, got it. That was a virtual.
Didn't
Sundance
get to
movie.
see it yet, though.
Got it. Yeah. So really for me, the big thing was that I wanted this to equally be about the movies and the experience and the love and but also about like kind of the connections and integrating with other people who are just as much of film lovers as us. And I would say that for the most part we did. I ran into some faces that I was not expected to see at all. Some people from my old film fans group, some people who I used to play some movie trivia with back in the day during COVID for all the movie trivia leagues out there back during the movie trivia Schmodown. You know who you are. It was really just a great time. And then, you know what it is about like, and you guys will have to let me know if you've had this experience in the past. It was just so nice how like you could just walk down that stretch on King Street and just like strike up a random conversation with a moviegoer. And like everybody is there for the same reason. As far as like every person there kind of grew up loving and adoring films, kind of all had this interesting way in because we're like the prime internet generation. So we kind of like had a way into film that that previous generations really didn't. And it's really interesting how like we're kind of continuing this love of film because another reason to both your guys' point, Nathaniel and Jack, is that the thing about this year, because like I said, this is my first one, so I can't speak to previous years, but the thing about this year that felt really, really special is the fact that obviously I'd say that for the first time really since COVID, obviously we had 2023 and that was an awesome year, but this is really the first time since COVID that it feels like movies are back. And I know with that, again, that's kind of a tired saying. We've been saying that for the last couple of years, but you know, with last year kind of being riddled by the strikes from the previous year, and then the first couple of years of this decade just riddled by COVID, and then obviously the first 8 months of the year, I think we could all agree we're really, really kind of lacking. But man, it just felt like this festival was just like overloaded and really having to like, okay, we got to pick up the slack for the rest of the year. And I really think the film slate, I would say, kind of demonstrated that. So I don't know. Anyone who wants to jump in after that point can.
Well, yeah, I mean, for me, it was after April. The first 4 months sucked, but Sinners really brought it up, and I loved a lot of movies that have come out since. But yeah, this really put it over. I think this is definitely going to be one of the best years of the decade so far. And yeah, I'm really excited to see what we haven't seen yet, too, because there's still a lot to get to. I mean, some movies that we saw that perhaps Jack and Alex haven't seen either. So, you know, there's still a lot to look forward to for the next few months, I would say.
Jack, so how do you think this festival, like you were saying, you said that this festival really, it felt like was kind of, you know, max of the gills in ways that previous years haven't. But how do you feel like, how do you think this festival really helps in terms of kind of the quality and the output of films that we've had so far this year, especially in comparison to the previous couple years?
Usually like once TIFF starts or like the fall festival season starts, that's where like the good shit starts. So like this year was just like, I have like a clear like indication of like what's going to happen with like the Oscars now, especially since some movies like they premiered at TIFF and they kind of like had like immediate response, like Rental Family. There was also Ballad of a Small Player. That was another one that kind of like had like mixed reviews out of TIFF. I tried to talk to several people about it and they were just like, yeah, it's fine, it's whatever.
Yeah. Same
Same with like Rental Family. I had the same thing where I was just like, yeah, it's fine, but it's not like a big player or anything like that. So it's just like once like TIFF starts and you see like all the films that are coming out during that festival, you'll kind of like start to understand the metrics of the awards predictions. But also at the same time, I feel like now we're like in like the good shit, you know?
Yeah.
So
sure.
it only goes up from here.
it was so fascinating because obviously, again, we all keep track of the Oscars every year. That's kind of like our Super Bowl pretty much. And it's so fascinating, obviously, because TIFF always is kind of this big kickoff to the fall season. And like the responses to the films that go through there usually determines kind of what films are going to go all the way as far as the Oscars. You know, you have some kind of late stragglers that can come in and steal a lot of buzz, but really it's kind of TIFF or bust for lack of a better word. And, you know, especially now with the TIFF Awards, especially coming out today, you know, Hamnet just won the People's Choice and No Other Choice won the International Feature, which was something that we were all talking about as well. And already people are saying they're like, oh, Hamnet's almost like possibly going to win Best Picture, which again, I'm still not riding out on that, but I will say that like it's definitely top. Yeah. Those three like are still in those two movies that just won are definitely in contention with Sinners as far as like one of those three movies is winning picture this year for sure at the Oscars.
No Other Choice. I think it's going to get nominated now, but I'm like, we'll get into it. I do want to talk about that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Alex. So going in as far as your kind of like first festival and your experience, obviously, like you were saying, you're not a film guy the way that we are as far as a film major, but you are like a major film fan. So like, what was it like in terms of like the actual experience of watching movies at a festival, as opposed to just like going to watch them in a theater?
All right. So for the last few years, and obviously talking to Nathaniel about TIFF, always reading the reviews and the initial buzz was always something I was invested in, but actually going to the events and the premieres, it was a whole new experience where you hear the oohs and ahs. And obviously we just mentioned Ballad of a Small Player. That was my personal least favorite. You sort of get to understand within a few hours of screening it, what's really going to be the home runs and the standouts. And I think even for Midnight Madness, since the fact they do that, they show a movie at midnight, usually a genre piece, a horror film that's out there, or even Nirvana, the band that show the movie. And Nathaniel, I'm guessing, is going to get into that later. But it's just one of those things that when you're with a full packed house at these prestigious theaters, that actually one of them, the Royal Alexandria, is the oldest North American running theater. You just feel it. I mean, maybe it's one of those things where I was biased towards some films since I was feeling the environment and the oohs and ahs, as I just said, but it was truly overwhelming being in the presence of a few thousand people just wanting to be there for the art of film itself and nothing else.
Yeah, it's always so funny because obviously it's funny because like film festival hype is something that's kind of been like talked about negatively in the past in terms of like, because the majority of people who are going to these festivals are film fans and film lovers like ourselves. So obviously, you know, we're kind of going to have like an objectively different kind of opinion and reception towards these types of movies than quote unquote normies per se. But if anything, I've been saying for the last couple of years that like kind of these types of movies have kind of like surpassed normies. You know, the Oscars are not, the movies that get nominated for Oscars are not quite for normies anymore, at least for the last couple of years. There's usually only like one or two blockbusters that like everybody watches. And so that's obviously why all the conservative pundits come out and say, oh, who watches these movies, blah, blah, blah. But it is kind of interesting kind of being enmeshed in that kind of environment too. And the irony being that I feel like with the exception of a few movies, and Nathaniel, you and I are going to get into it on Hamnet in a little bit, for the most part, I feel like this was probably the most, and I think that's also part of the reason why this TIFF was so special, is the fact that I feel like a vast majority of these movies could be like very, very receptive to a modern audience, like especially something like No Other Choice and the reaction that got. Especially since we're living in a post-Parasite world, right? Where Parasite is a movie that can go and win Best Picture ultimately. I feel like kind of and also obviously because of the kind of what's the word I'm looking for? The kind of reception that Park Chan-wook and the reputation that Park Chan-wook has generated as a result of, you know, as a result of his work on, like, say, things like Old Boy, The Vengeance Trilogy, The Handmaiden, Decision to Leave, a couple of his other previous work. I feel like, and obviously just also the reception to foreign cinema, which is so much more mainstream and so much more palatable now than it ever has been, I would argue. It's really, really awesome to see movies like No Other Choice, like Sentimental Value, like The Secret Agent. I didn't get a chance to watch it. It was just an accident, but that's another example as well. And also movies that are filmed in English language but are made by foreign audiences. Because Nathaniel, remind me, what nationality is Mona Fastfold? Is she Polish? Is that it?
I'm not sure exactly, but that sounds about right.
I'm pretty sure she is. So you have kind of all of these different movies that are kind of made almost like not necessarily for a mainstream audience, but they're made like with a more mainstream feel, you know, because I feel like now in the wake of kind of everything that's happened post-COVID with American cinema, just in general, specifically with Hollywood, and its kind of incessant need to just reboot and remake everything, it is kind of interesting and also kind of necessary, I say, for all of these foreign filmmakers and all of just, you know, foreign cinema in general to kind of pick up the slack where American cinema has kind of been laxing. Nathaniel, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I'll say Mona Fassel is actually Norwegian.
Norwegian.
So just
Okay.
want to make that
I'm
point.
like, that's not an American name.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I definitely feel like, especially if we look at the Oscars, it's becoming more and more international, the movies that are being honored. And we could have three in Best Picture this year. Certainly, I hope so. And we'll get into that a little bit. But yeah, I definitely feel like it's definitely branching out to a more international audience. And a lot of the best movies that you see, I think most of the time, more than about half of my top 10 list like aren't American movies and just from somewhere else. So I really do think that world cinema is becoming more prominent even within the mainstream, I would say. And yeah, it's very exciting because I think, especially some of the best movies that we're getting, I think just in general are coming from Korea. So
Yeah,
that
without a
tells you
doubt.
anything.
Well, I mean, South Korean
Yeah.
cinema in general has always been the contributor of some of the best ones, but the difference is that like now it's becoming so much more accessible outside of like kind of the two big name filmmakers that are from there. All right, so now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna do a basic breakdown. I'm gonna run through each one of you guys, and I want you guys to each rank all of the movies that you saw at TIFF from your least favorite to your favorite. Jack, we're gonna start with you.
Oh, my least favorite? We're
Least
starting with my
favorite?
least favorite?
Yeah, we're gonna start with the least favorite. We're gonna go all the
Okay.
way to the
All
top.
right. All right. I think me and Nathaniel are like on the same page about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Scarlet.
Yeah. It sucks.
The last movies that you guys saw
Yeah.
together.
Listen, man. I like the director's last couple of movies. But this one kind of like was like I don't know, it was just like overstimulating. And in the wrong way, because usually like animes they are like overstimulating, but like they actually have like some point or something that really like latches onto you. But this one was just like it was just throwing way too much stuff out there. It's throwing like Hamlet aesthetics.
Also,
It's
not to be
trying
confused with the fact that in addition to the Hamnet being at the festival, there was also a Hamlet movie starring Riz Ahmed.
Right. And it's trying to be like what was it? That movie with like Jackie Chan and Jet Li, The Forbidden Kingdom,
Yes,
where
that
like
one.
where somebody's getting transported to another like dimension in like some other universe or something like that. And then also just like throwing a lot of just sci-fi elements. It was just like craziness, and it didn't work out for me personally. It was just like very like overstimulating, and like there was just a lot of like scenes that like dragged on way too long, or just like rushed like characterizations. But yeah, even though like the animation's like really nice to look at, and like there's like really cool like scenery and backgrounds, it just didn't work for me, and it's unfortunate because I really like the director's other films like Belle and The Boy and the Beast. So yeah, it was kind of like a disappointment.
director. Oh, that makes it
Yeah,
even worse that that's
Yeah.
not as good.
Yeah. It's shocking
yeah,
how bad it was. It really was.
All right.
yeah. Disappointing.
Next up.
Am I up next?
No. I'm saying no.
Or for Jack?
No, Jack's
Okay.
running
Yeah,
through
Jack,
all of
just
his
run
movies.
through
Just
from
run
Everyone,
through it
yeah,
all.
just
All
run
right,
through
all
the
right.
list.
Okay,
All
so I'll
right.
continue.
Yeah.
Sacrifice.
Yeah, like I said, just kind of like breeze through the rest of them though. Just
Okay, all right. So Sacrifice. This is the new Roman Garvis movie with Chris Evans, Anya Taylor-Joy, Charlie XCX, Young Lean. I forgot who else is in there. Vincent Cassell,
Salma Hayek for
and
like 5 minutes.
yeah, Salma Hayek, John Malkovich. This had like a really interesting like concept. It's something that we've already seen before, like rich people being trapped in like a situation, and now they have to like escape from like the other side of the spectrum, like the whole idea of like class warfare. But this time around, it's just about like a terrorist group who is really into like the ecological like space. So they just try to like do like a hostage situation with like the elites, and basically they have like this prophecy of having two people actually like being sacrificed in a volcano to save the earth. But that whole like story kind of like begins to fall apart like in the second half of the film. Like the first half of the film, it's actually kind of funny. There's some moments where you get a lot of like Chris Evans action where he's like playing himself and he's being like very I don't know what the word is, but full of himself. But at the same time, there's still moments where you still feel for the character in like the first half. But as soon as they leave like the salt mine, the film just like derails, and everybody else has nothing to do. Like Anna Taylor-Joy is like literally doing nothing the whole time. Young Lean's like playing himself, which I really liked because he's just like spitting a lot of like weird like dialogue, but like he's delivering it in a way where it feels a little bit authentic to him. But other than that, like this didn't like work for me, and where it ended, it was like very predictable, and like John Malkovich was like truly wasted because he's just a guy who's just like spitting like expository like dialogue and going like, "Hey man, what the fuck? Like this is the mountain, man." Like just like for like 3-4 minutes, and then he just like dips out. Like there wasn't really anything much to like say about the movie, so it was like really disappointing. And it was one of those like tickets that I really wanted to like grab the first time it was on sale, but I missed it like a couple times, and I finally got it, and I was just like, damn, that was a waste of money. But at least I saw it though.
That's
At least
disappointing.
I saw
'Cause
it,
it looks like we saw two completely different movies. I had a fucking blast with that movie. I had so much fun with it. That is easily one of my favorite movies that I saw at the festival.
And I don't blame you, you know? I don't really blame you. Like there's some movies this year where we can just like fight off about whether or not those movies are good, like Hurry Up Tomorrow, but that's another discussion.
I still haven't even seen that one. That's the thing. And honestly, The Weeknd, what's it called? Oh my God, The Idol. He was so bad at that I almost wanted to. And like, here's the thing, and I've talked about this before. The Idol, I think, had potential. The Weeknd is the reason why that show got screwed. That is ultimately why The Weeknd screwed that.
Right.
So, Jack, we're gonna take a break for you. I want to go over to Alice. Alice, I wanted you to talk about some of your favorite movies that you saw at the festival.
So my favorites, if you're gonna ask me one that stood out of my 12, I'm gonna take Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein.
Yes, talk about it.
For me, it's one of those things. I actually missed The Shape of Water in theaters, and I really
You weren't missing much.
You were missing a lot.
Nah, you weren't.
That's an argument for another day.
Much. One of the worst Best Picture.
You're
movies.
outvoted. Anyway, continue, Alex.
Am I really?
Yeah, be gone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, get the fuck out of here. Anyway,
my first
agree.
Del Toro in theaters was Nightmare Alley, and that was another one that was divisive. And I was more towards I enjoyed it, but even still, for me, and this is not to start more arguing, it's no Shape of Water. So finally, I get around to TIFF, and Frankenstein was the first ticket that I was going after. Even though it's going to Netflix, you got to see Del Toro in theaters on the big screen. And I was just fully blown away the whole runtime, and especially from Jacob Elordi. He just disappeared within that role. And obviously Oscar Isaac, always great. Some people are saying that he was totally miscast. For me, I'm not going to agree with that at all. The score was awesome. Maybe a little too similar to Shape of Water at times, but even so, the score is great. Mia Goth is normal as well, and that I think is the most shocking thing from this film.
Wait, what? She's not playing a crazy bipolar? Why am I watching this?
No.
no, it's great. It's great.
And other than that, I mean, to see Christoph Waltz again without Tarantino's assistance was a pleasant surprise as well. And just everything about it, especially after the screening at 11:30 last Tuesday, Del Toro was full of energy with his team and crew that made everything happen behind the scenes, and was just saying Toronto is the best place in the world. That's a reason. And Jack, you were telling me about this. He owns some haunted mansion a few miles away from where TIFF happens.
Yeah, he has like a haunted mansion filled with like items and like weird like monster shit.
Fitting things for him, yeah.
All right,
So,
so I'm putting that on the list of shit we're gonna do when we go next.
So either way,
Right,
just, Frankenstein. I think when it goes to Netflix, whenever that may be, within the next few months.
November 7th.
Yes.
Thank you for that. The day after my dad's birthday. Still
Hey,
try
look
to
at
go out in theaters and see it, since that's where it's meant to be seen.
Definitely. Do you have any other favorites that you wanted to shout out as well?
My second favorite was actually more of a low key effort that Jack and Nathaniel were at the screening. Left-Handed Girl. That was actually written and produced by Sean Baker, so it was more of a quaint effort compared to Anora, but still it was awesome.
Nice, awesome. All right, Nathaniel, let's do it. Let's have the discussion now. Hamnet, what are your favorites? Talk about it.
Okay, so you want me to just get right into Hamnet?
Get
or
right
my
into it.
favorites?
Let's go.
Okay,
Let's
okay.
get this over
Well,
with.
I'll say Hamnet was one of my favorite movies of the festival. I didn't find it disappointing in the slightest. I would say, yeah, it does feel a little long by the end, but there's not many scenes that I would like take out or change. I was just absolutely wrapped up in just the very restrained but masterful filmmaking that Chloe Zhao employed from frame one all the way to the beginning. And I really like all her other movies, but I mean, Nomadland might be my least favorite Best Picture winner since like Crash, which, you know, I don't think there's been many bad ones at all.
That's
crazy,
right there.
bro.
I like all the best
right there, dude.
I really like
Greatest
all
show on
the
earth.
Best Picture winners.
I like
The greatest show on earth.
I like
bro.
Nomadland more than fucking Shape of Water. Let me put that out there, and Green Book for that matter.
Let me say this. And why are we talking about the greatest show on earth? That movie's trash. I'm talking about since Crash. Since Crash.
Oh, since
But
Crash?
again,
Flash. Since Crash.
it's my
Really?
least favorite. But
Okay,
even then,
all
I
right.
Better
really
than Nightmare.
liked
It's
it.
still better
Can
than
I
Shape
speak?
of Water. Yes.
I really like the movie. Don't get me wrong. I am quite high on all the Best Picture winners since that point. But I will say that I think this is far and away her best work. I really just think from a filmmaking standpoint, the way the story so slowly like comes together, they take the time to develop this family and really make you understand their dynamic. So when the grief hits, it really it lets you wallow in it, but in a way that I don't feel is necessarily manipulative or what's the word, or unearned. It really does feel like it earns all its devastating moments, and the high that this movie sends you out. This might be like the best ending of the entire year, and I think the performances. Paul Mescal, I think, is in contention to win. If he runs in supporting
Ooh.
actor, I really think he could win.
He's not going
but
to, though.
Jesse,
That's the problem. I already see it happening. He's going to run for lead. I just know it.
it could happen. I still think he'll get nominated either way. But Jessie Buckley, goodbye. It's over. You get the Oscar. Congratulations. You're going to be seeing her win every single precursor. It's in the bag. It's one of the all-time great film performances. It's really hard to deny just how masterful she is in this film. And I really was swept in. Yet again, I don't think the general public it's like, oh, Shakespeare, this isn't Shakespeare in Love, which is a movie I enjoy, but I mean, come on. And so I think that this is a much deeper, much more heartfelt, much more masterfully crafted drama that is one of the most devastating movies I've ever seen, and one of the most emotionally resonant movies I've seen in a long time. So easily one of my favorites of the festival.
Here's what I'll say about Hamden, and to the Paul Mescal point, and the reason why I bring that up is because he's going to do this. His team is going to make the same mistake that they did with Michelle Williams for The Fabelmans, for Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon, and Carey Mulligan for Maestro, where all three of those actresses, if they had gone supporting, they would have won.
They would have won
in a landslide, and all three of them went lead, and all three of them lost. Every single time.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what unfortunately is going to happen. Where again, if he goes supporting, in my mind, Delroy Lindo is still winning supporting for Sinners.
Winning.
I'm putting it out.
Winning.
Dude, I've been saying that for a minute now. I've been saying that. I mean,
he could actually get nominated, but I don't think win.
Oh no, I'm putting him up for the win only because
over
I
Skarsgård and Mescal.
Well, no, that's
Sandler.
The thing. So that's the thing. I'm not sold on Sandler because of the Oscars' previous reception. I think just the fact that they'll nominate him.
I'm sold on it.
Great as Skarsgård is in sentimental value, I don't see him winning. I really don't. Literally, like I said, the only real competition to me that Delroy has is Paul Mescal. If he goes supporting, he wins it in a landslide. There's a couple problems going there. One, the fact that his screen time is enough to where it is enough of a debatable where he could go co-lead. So that's the thing. So it wouldn't technically be category fraud. In addition to that, it's the fact that his team would want him to go lead, despite the fact that if he were to go supporting, he would almost surely win. But it's the fact that it's a classic thing. They're trying to sell him as a leading man. Like, that's the whole thing with After Sun. It's a classic age-old Hollywood mentality that is unfortunately still around. Now, my thoughts on Hamnet in general. Beautifully made, exquisitely shot, unbelievable score, amazing performances. I'm barely going to remember anything about this movie next year. Other than, it's the Shakespeare thing with dead kids. That's all that I'm going to remember. And it's unfortunate to say because it's funny how many people like to dog on Nomadland as far as being like, it's one of the worst Best Picture winners ever. It's literally only because it was COVID. Ever. It's only because of COVID, I think. Because the thing about that movie, it's funny, and this is the ultimate test. Back when I was hosting this with Chris Evanko, my previous co-host, I remember this very vividly. Nomadland was in his top 10 of 2020, as it was mine. And the whole thing that he said about this is he's like, this is a movie that I would never want to watch again, but it was a movie that was important because the thing about it is that it's ultimately a documentary about a group of people that would never, ever get attention from that actually just happen to star two movie stars ultimately. And I haven't quite seen any other movie that tackles not necessarily the homeless, but the drifters as far as it's the only movie that I've ever seen that actually dares to confront the fact that, the housing crisis in America is awful. There is no solving this problem at all. And this is just a group of people that have kind of found a way to kind of continue to live their lives and in a way are kind of more free than any of us will ever be. And there was a really particularly heartbreaking monologue at the end of that movie where the one guy is telling the story about his son who killed himself that still kind of sits with me all these years later.
Right,
and that's why I can't stand the Nomadland slander, if you will, because I'm like,
Oh,
anybody who's
dude.
actually watched that movie understands like actually the power of that. And and in comparison, sorry, I'm Jack, I'm almost done, I promise. But in
Oh, yeah, I got
comparison
you.
to Hamnet, the thing about it is that Hamnet ultimately is more so just pretty looking, amazingly exquisite artifice that is kind of being a little bit of emotional manipulation in front of your eyes. And if it was semi-based on a true story, I wouldn't care as much. But it's the fact that it's
Kind of
based,
is.
kind of, but not really. It's based off of a fictitious book that tells a somewhat loose account of things, but it's not nearly at all like certainly based on a true story.
Well, is it similar to Amadeus? Sort of.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Amadeus is what I compare.
Kind of,
It's
but
not. It's not. The thematic scope is different, but like in regards to the context of it, sure.
All right, I
Yes.
understand.
I guess the biggest difference between that and Amadeus, that is an apt comparison, but the biggest difference between that and Amadeus is Amadeus, I think, is just much better and much more fun because that one, I think, is just dealing with much more universal themes in terms of, the idea of, somebody who's kind of younger, hotter, and better than me has come along and is going to steal my spotlight. Now I'm going to do whatever I can in order to make sure that this little fucker gets it. And so, I don't know, there's just something like inherently more relatable to that than, oh no, my kid died and now I'm going to make a play about it in order to wallow in my pain and try and excuse it. Like, I don't know, like that's just one of those things where it's like kind of a me thing, but that's kind of where I'm going with it. So Jack, what were you saying?
No, I was gonna say that with Nomadland, that was like my favorite of 2020, and I was actually part of, I think, if I remember correctly, because I can probably find it on Facebook. I posted it somewhere, but the studio reached out to me, and I was part of like a marketing like little scheme for it.
Oh
Well,
wow.
not scheme, but for like a 30-second like video about it. I'll find it like on Facebook, but I remember like recording it, and it showed up on some of like the social media like streams around that time. But
That's
I was
cool.
like really into that movie
Yeah,
when
that's
it
really
came
cool,
out,
man.
and
Yeah.
there was like a few like standout scenes that really like have like brought me to like human like the condition and whatnot. But I'm just really excited to see how like Hamnet like works out, because that was one where like before the festival started, I was just like, I don't know. I think Chloe Zhao, like that was like a one and done thing. And I was kind of like doubting it. But then once I started to hear like the reviews coming out of was it Telluride and now
Telluride, yeah.
TIFF, I'm just like, man, like my dumbass like took it out of like the predictions for a bit, and now I have to like throw it back in.
Yeah.
But I'll apologize for that. I won't
Yeah, we're all
apologize
kicking ourselves.
for keeping No Other Choice in the mix.
Yeah, you were ahead of the curve there for sure, because let's
Right.
talk about that one now, because
Yeah.
goddamn. So Alex, you were the only one who did not get a chance to see No Other Choice.
I'm the lone one out, so talk about whatever. If you want
All
to
right.
share spoilers, that's totally your.
I mean, I don't want to spoil it too much.
Yeah, I don't
because
wanna
part
spoil
of
it.
the
It's
fun
not out
viewers
yet.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, there was so much that like they revealed as far as the plot. So like there is a certain level to which you can know going in. It's more so just
Yeah.
kind of the fun of seeing how they explore that. Because
Right.
I mean, oh my god, like who here wants to fucking like try and break down what that movie is about?
Okay.
I can try. No, I can
Yeah.
try.
Yeah,
I can
Jack, you take it. You take it.
So it's basically just about a businessman who has like the perfect family, the perfect wife, the perfect two dogs, and two kids.
Yeah.
And in the first 5 minutes, like it's like beautifully established that like he
Oh.
has everything in his life. It's all perfect. He has like the grill. He has like all like the food around him, and they're all like having like a good like beautiful family moment in the first 5 minutes. And then after the first 5 minutes, immediately Park Chan Wook just like throws you in, under the rug, and like gives you like this area where this guy has lost like everything. He lost his job. His finances are starting to like fall apart. His wife is like getting on his ass about like finances and other things, and he's so desperate. And like 3 months in, he has like a job at like a retail store, just like
Yeah.
stocking like items, and he gets like a job interview a little bit later on, and that doesn't work out. He feels like disrespected by some of the people that tried to like give him the opportunity for the interview, but like he misses the interview by like I think like 30 minutes. And after that, he just starts to spiral out of control and gets to the point where he's just like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna like make a fake job ad in the newspaper, and I'm gonna send all these like people who are like quote unquote qualified for my position, my job, to this fake job area, so I can kill them off one by one. And that turns into a whole thing where you're following this man who has never killed anyone in his life, never has done like anything violent to anybody, and now he's in the position where he put himself in that position, and now he has to have like the quote unquote no other choice to kill off his competitors. And yeah, it's a hilarious just like thrill ride. You're just following this like character as he's trying to like figure out how to kill his first victim, and it's a drawn out like kill. It's not like one and done. He's just trying to like find a way to like, you know, court him, like put him in a position where the victim feels like vulnerable at a state where, you know, he can kill him, and that turns into shit. Especially what happens like in the middle of what he's trying to like do.
It's wild. This movie,
Yeah.
to say the least. I think this is like this is what like this was my third movie, because I don't remember how many movies you guys saw, because I had only seen Secret Agent Sentimental Value after this, and after I finished this, I'm like, this is immediately my favorite of the festival. Like, and like this press screening was so jam packed, Nathaniel, that you were not even able to get into this one. You had to wait for the second one. That's a whole different story.
But it worked out in the end.
That's true, because you were able to see Nirvana the band to show the movie. But I mean, the best way that I can describe this is a slapstick comedy that then transitions into a serial killer drama. And those two genres shouldn't work at all, especially when mixed together. But like the way that Park is able to just so seamlessly transition, and it's all down to the themes in terms of the inherent kind of vicious Darwinistic cycle of kind of manufacturing specifically, and they are very purposeful in their intention of showing the reason why all these guys lose their job is because they're bought out by an American company that's automating all the jobs that were previously done by humans. That's the first thing. The second thing is just inherently how the movie painstakingly shows how much he sucks at like killing people, but like once he pulls off the first one, and how easily he falls into it, how good he gets, and kind of how sociopathic he becomes, and kind of how that makes him like a better ideal candidate for this job that he applied to earlier. So inherently, like kind of the sociopathic nature, the kind of divorcing yourself from any inherent humanity right there. And also as well, you get into the domestic life, the family life as well, how his wife, the minute that he loses his job, it's almost like he takes a step down. He goes from being like this hero that his wife worships. And it's also notable too, the fact that his wife has a kid from a previous marriage as well, that he has basically taken on to be his own son as well. How he goes from being this kind of deity in her eyes, and now he's just like a regular, like kind of schlub essentially, and how kind of his lack of work is kind of impacting their family life, and they can't pay their bills and stuff. And it really brings also in this crisis of masculinity of it's like, oh, if you can't provide for and take care of your family, are you even a man? You know, it's like all these insane things. It's almost like the movie is very intentionally making fun of like all the conservative pundits that have raised up in the last couple of years specifically, and like directly making fun of that. And it feels so true. And then by the end of it, he's gotten the job, he's gotten his life back, but he's just a lone worker in a factory surrounded by machines. But you almost can't distinguish between the two of them. It is brilliant. This movie, easily my favorite of the festival, without a doubt.
Oh, me too. Like, it's my number one. And it's my number one of the year so far.
Almost like we had. Say it with me. No other choice but to put it as number one. Also, the hardest title drop of any of the movies that I've seen.
Yeah, they say it like 50 times.
No, it's not that many. It's not that many. They use it very purposefully throughout.
They say it a lot.
Well,
yeah, 8 times.
Yeah. There's just an American guy who says it. It's just like, there's no other choice. I'm just, shit.
Like, I see what you did there.
And this is one of those movies where, like, this doesn't usually happen, but, like, from literally the first scene, I was like, I am loving this movie. And it is some of the greatest filmmaking I have ever seen in my life.
My God.
Like, the cinematography, the way that they block these characters, the way they set every single character up with their, their background, what they do, it's just so efficient. But yet again, it's so perfectly tied together. Everything plays into the next beat, so on and so forth. And just the editing is like some of the greatest I've ever seen in any movie. I literally don't know why they would pass this over for editing. Like, this should win in a cakewalk. It is just. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say this real quick. The thing about the filmmaking itself, just taking apart from the script and the story structure, is the fact that I don't think I've ever seen this before, where most of the time with filmmaking, right, if the filmmakers want you to feel like it's a dream, you pretty much can figure out it's a dream. And if the filmmaker like wants it to feel like reality, like it makes you feel like reality, this is the first time I've ever seen a movie where those two kind of strings of thought and presentation are blended together seamlessly. Where like every other scene could just as easily be like a daydream or a hallucination as well as reality. But but at the same time, like you never have that thing where you're trying to figure out, oh, is this a dream or is this not? Like I've never seen a movie like that before, not even with Parasite.
I mean, it did the same thing with like Decision to Leave. He kind of did that same thing where you don't know what exactly is real or not. Especially like the conversations like the two main characters were having in that movie.
Yeah, I mean, even going back to Old Boy as well, he does that too.
Yeah, but this feels more like organic, and I think here, like, even if you didn't like Decision to Leave, if you've been like following like Park Chan-wook for like the past couple of years and you didn't like Decision to Leave, I think this one will kind of like bring you back to what you really like about like Park Chan-wook, and it's just the way like he captures a lot of like depth and like all of his characters and like the scenery and just the whole like experience. And yeah, going back to like the editing in this movie, like there's a lot of like crazy like transition shots that I think eclipse The Handmaiden, because I remember watching The Handmaiden and like I was just like, wow, like this is like one of the best edited movies. And I would say the same also with like Stoker, but this was just like on another level.
Direct Stoker, is that the only English language movie he's ever directed?
English film.
Yeah, English language
like
film.
English
right,
things.
that's what I meant.
Yeah. But yeah, there's like a couple shots that I can like think of that I'm still thinking about till like for the past couple of days, like it's the shovel shot, like the transition from the shovel to like the bed.
Oh my god, with the tree! I won't say what, but the tree fucking being planted. You guys know what I'm talking about. Oh my god!
Yeah, or like the beer, like the whole entire sequence where he's trying to kill this, I think second or third guy, and like he's drinking like beer with him, and there's like a beer camera like inside of like the glass, and like it's like sliding down like his mouth, and it's like really interesting.
It's one of those movies that makes you want to be like, I wanted to be there on set just to see how we pulled that off, like because that's insane. A couple movies that I just wanted to shout out as well that I really enjoyed as well, because I think it's safe to say No Other Choice and Hamnet are the two obvious scene steals and will be nominated for picture and director.
I hope.
I mean, I can't imagine why they wouldn't be. I mean, they're the two People's Choice winners. I mean, Chloe Zhao, I think, is a lock at this point. I'm very confident on Park Chan-wook. I'm very confident.
I hope you're right. I think he should win, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's just a matter. Right now, my three locks are Coogler, Chloe Zhao, and Park Chan-wook, and it's just a matter of everybody else that's in contention fighting it out for those last two spots. Couple of them.
I just want to ask a question since we're on the topic of No Other Choice. So this is the first year they had the International People's Choice Award. Now, before last year, for instance, Emilia Perez placed. I don't know why, but it did. So my question is, does that mean that No Other Choice was ineligible for the actual People's Choice Award? Because we noticed it was Hamnet, Frankenstein, and Wake Up Dead Man. So does that mean that it could have won People's Choice hypothetically if they didn't put it in another category?
It's very possible.
Sentimental values there as well.
It is very possible. And that may have, and in fact, the reason for them separating the categories may have been a direct reaction to Emilia Perez. Because again, like the fact that, I mean, did that play well last year at TIFF or no?
It did.
Okay.
Except with Jonathan
It did really well.
Okay. Well, I mean, the minute that movie hit Netflix, it just became a laughing stock. But a couple of the movies that I just wanted to shout out as well. Sentimental Value. My second time actually watching it, I had caught I'd caught an early test screening for it directly out of Cannes, so I saw it back in June. But there was something about seeing it in a second time definitely that like really made it hit harder. So that's why I definitely recommend you guys watch it for sure a second time, because there was just something about the idea of kind of this broken family kind of coming together and them having this shared lineage that's all attached to their house. And also the idea that, you know, the father is ultimately trying to reunite with his daughter, and the fact that even though completely separate from him, she was obviously influenced by him as a film director to go and become an actress. And now he's like trying to make this movie with her as a means of like reuniting and kind of all this shared baggage and family history. There was something about it that really hit me a lot harder this time around than I did the first time I saw it. And also the Smashing Machine. Now, I'll say this about the Smashing Machine as well. It is one of those instances where the experience of getting into the movie trumped it a little bit, but the movie itself was good enough to match it. I do think that Marty Supreme, in terms of the two Safdie movies that are coming out this year, because the Safdie split a lot earlier than I was expecting them to, I do think that Marty Supreme looks a little bit more interesting and could be better, but for what the Smashing Machine accomplished, giving us The Rock actually like trying for a movie for the first time in over a decade, as well as Benny Safdie, who you could tell was just so invested and so invigorated and was really, really fucking just hyped to be at TIFF. you could tell, like, oh my God, like, I'm not in my brother's shadow anymore. I'm finally able to, like, come out and do this movie, like, by myself. I have all these people here. I'm here with these mega stars next to me. I'm helping to, like, tell the story of how the UFC, which is now the staple in a lot of people's lives and is almost, like, formed its own, like, kind of subculture in and of itself. I can speak to that because my friend Kyle's a massive UFC guy. You could just tell that it was made with love and respect. And even though it wasn't, like, kind of it wasn't kind of like exactly like The Wrestler or Raging Bull in a way that you would have thought, just in terms of it kind of being a way for The Rock to really get in touch with himself in a way, and kind of his own, like, kind of history as well, because he knew Mark Kerr. They kind of came up around the same time, because this movie takes place between, like, 97 and 2000, which is about when The Rock was just getting into WWE as well. So you kind of, there's a lot of shared lineage and a lot of shared history there that's kind of being presented for the first time as well. And I will say, being in the same room as The Rock, we've all criticized him. We've all made fun of him over the last couple of years, obviously, for some very kind of, stupid choices that he's made in terms of attempting to publicize his movies. I got it. I completely understood. That man has a charisma and a presence and an aura around him that no other human being does. It's actually completely insane. Like, just an absolutely surreal. And I told the story on my TikTok, on my Instagram post, how I got into this movie. I have to keep saying it because it continues to validate that it was real and that it actually happened and that it wasn't a fever dream. I had gotten on the rush line for Wake Up Dead Man, did not get in at all. I was on the rush line for Smashing Machine, which was the same rush line as Frankenstein. Frankenstein, they were not letting people in. I was waiting on that rush line for damn near 4 hours because I did not get a ticket, and I could not get, and I was trying to go to the press screening for Wake Up Dead Man, which was the following day. And that was also at the same time as the Smashing Machine and Frankenstein test screenings. Whoever the hell set those three up as far as being at the same time, boo to them.
Yeah,
But
I didn't get to see that one.
yeah,
so.
but I will say that so I was waiting online for like 4 hours straight. It was getting closer to the time. I didn't think I was gonna get in. Next thing you know, this random girl just walks past the line and just, like, looks at me and comes up to me and is like, "Oh, hey, you want to go see this movie? I have a ticket for it." I was like, "Wait, what? Is this real? Like, what is happening? Like, is somebody fucking with me?" But that's the magic of TIFF. That is the magic of TIFF. And not only did she get me a ticket, not only did she get me in, we had the best fucking seats in the house at Royal Princess of Wales Theater, directly on the top row of the balcony, dead center. I saw The Rock and Emily Blunt and Mark Kerr, like, straight up. It was a magical event. So, like I said, it's one of those instances where, again, the experience itself, I don't know if I'd seen the movie under regular circumstances if I would have liked it as much, but just for that experience alone, I was completely blown away. And really just watching it and watching The Rock again, like, just get in touch with a piece of himself. You could really tell that he was bearing a soul on screen for, like, the first time in a long time. And I think he'll be better off for it going forward. You can tell Benny Safdie was so psyched. I caught the last little bit of the speech that he gave introducing the movie, and he even shouted out his realism and film professor, which obviously, again, for me and Nathaniel, as far as being film students, I feel like that really rung true for us as well. So yeah, that was just a really great experience. And then I do want to talk to you guys as well. So Alex, you saw Testament of Ann Lee as well, right?
Testament of Ann Lee. That was Wednesday, the first movie to start the day. So yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So you can actually jump into this conversation as well. So we got to talk about Ann Lee. So this is a movie that is directed by Mona Fastfeld, who is Brady Corbay's wife. Brady Corbay directed The Brutalist last year, which was a movie that did very well at TIFF and came very close, at least at the beginning of the Oscar run last year. People were convinced that it was going to potentially have a very steady shot. And then as time went on, it kind of transitioned back towards Honora. But this is a movie that it's interesting because I haven't seen a lot of reception to it, but I ended up I was originally going to see it with you guys, then I instead opted to go to a press screening as well on Tuesday, and then ended up seeing a couple of other smaller movies in its place as well. And I will say that this is a movie that I really enjoyed. Like, really enjoyed a lot more than I thought I was going to. But Nathaniel and Jack, you two didn't necessarily enjoy it as well. Alex, you enjoyed it a lot, right?
Think me and Jack were on the same.
Me and Jack are on the same page.
Okay.
Nathaniel was below.
I'm in the minority.
Okay,
I'm in the minority on this movie.
So I'm interested in your guys' thoughts, because this was one that we didn't really get a chance to talk about in depth, because that one, it was kind of like when things were starting to get really
that was in the bulk of the week when so many movies were happening at once. So it was sort of just thrown there. But for me, it was one of the most anticipated. So when Jack got the tickets for that a few weeks before us going, I was through the roof, since The Brutalist from last year was my third favorite movie maybe. Wow. But the filmmaking is peak. That's the same thing with Testament of Ann Lee. So Blumberg's score, same guy who wrote the Brutalist score, won the Oscar for that. That's the standout from this film. That and the choreography are the best of the best that you're going to see from 2025. I think the biggest weakness, if I'm going to start negative and then go to the positives after that, some of the script is very Wikipedia, meaning they go through by the books 50 years of the woman's life, but everything else is just Amanda Seyfried at her finest. Lewis Pullman singing was something that I never thought I was going to see, and he had a nice voice as well. And everything about the film, especially the haunting narration from Thomasin McKenzie. And I forget who. Someone along the week said she gives me Quaker vibes just by looking at her face.
Well, that's the thing. They were a subsect of the Quaker cult, so
the
I kind of
they're a byproduct from the Quaker movement. And it's one of those things for me. I even said it to Nathaniel when he was airing more of his grievances, and I'm sure he's going to do that in a second again. It wasn't.
I chewed you out pretty heavy for that too, and I apologize for that, Nathaniel.
I was going to say, let's tone it down.
Yeah,
no. What I was saying too, I agreed with one of your points was it wasn't the most intriguing story on the surface, and there were moments that dragged in the middle, but I was willing to look past that since I was just so blown away. Everything else just took me. It was more of a vibe movie. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I understand in this situation. I'm not going to poo-poo this movie because I know look, I know there are some people who are a bit lukewarm on it, so I know I'm not in the complete minority, but I do understand, like, I appreciate a lot about this movie. I just think by the end, I mean, I really, really enjoyed the first half, them coming over to America, like the musical numbers were like, oh my goodness, I felt like I was like floating out of my seat or something. But I just feel like the story, I don't want to say it's aimless because it does get somewhere, but it takes a long time to get there. And I don't really think there's a whole lot interesting going on in that second half that quite makes it quite the tight story that I wanted to be. Like the first half was leading me to believe. And it's a 2-hour, 10-minute movie. That's not that long. But for me,
in comparison to The Brutalist, that monster of a movie.
And that's the thing. The Brutalist felt shorter to me because I was so engaged for like every second of that movie. But this was just like, it felt like 3 hours long. And I feel bad about it because I really do respect what she's, doing. And I think everyone should check this movie out for themselves because, there's some really, really commendable work here from the cinematography from William Rexer, the score from Daniel Bloomberg. That's one of my favorites of the year. And Amanda Seyfried, I mean, probably the best performance she's ever given. She's going to get nominated probably, and it would be well deserved.
Definitely the best performance since Jennifer's Body in Mean Girls for sure.
Well, I mean, I think she's great in Meg. I think she's fantastic.
Hey man, Mamma Mia.
Mamma Mia as well. I haven't seen any of the Mamma Mia movies.
Yeah, me neither.
You're missing out.
Yeah, so I've heard. I'm not a musical guy. I'm sorry. Look, my thing with Ann Lee and kind of why I really enjoyed it, it's interesting because in a way, Ann Lee kind of did the opposite for me that Hamnet did. Where Hamnet, I felt like it was almost like glorifying and like kind of forcing you and like using the pain of the childbirth as like an emotional manipulation tactic in order to try and get you into it. Ann Lee, I felt like was all about like kind of, if we're just talking about the character of Ann Lee in the movie, I felt like the movie was all about kind of how she was able to use this awful tragedy that she experienced early in her life, 4 child births and deaths, one right after another, and how she was able to kind of use that in order to kind of motivate her, in order to create kind of like this safe haven for kind of the lost, kind of the aimless, if you will. So and even though I'm sure that's not exactly what was accomplished, just in terms of what I felt like the movie was trying to get across, and how by the end, even though she passed, the fact that her dream was ultimately realized, in terms of what the Shakers were able to accomplish, I felt like there was just something very idealistic, but yet very kind of wholesome and kind of hopeful, if you will. That was kind of about it. That really kind of sent it over the edge for me, in addition to the unbelievable filmmaking. Like, to me, like, I think that in terms of rivaling No Other Choices from a filmmaking perspective, that was this one, for sure.
I mean, there's definitely some commendable elements. I mean, some of the match cuts are insane. Like that blew me away. I will say though, because I think the movie was bringing in some conflict about, is she really who she says she is? Should we be buying into that? And I felt like they could have explored that a lot more. That was kind of
Yeah.
what I wanted to see. And I felt like by the end of the narrative, another reason why I was disappointed, I felt like that kind of went unfulfilled. And I really would have loved to see more conflict in that regard, because I think it would have made the movie a little bit more interesting by the end.
I also just think
Yeah.
as well that, like, just in terms of like how ultimately at the end of the day, by the time that she died, the majority of the people who she had kind of started it with had either left or died, and there was something like really haunting about the way that she died as well, like just something that like really rung true. You know, the whole thing of like I'm trying to think. It compares to something, but it was you know what it was. I just realized it. You know what it was. I just realized what this movie reminded me of. This movie reminded me a lot of Gangs of New York in the sense of amazingly filmed, kind of problematic, a little bit longer than it should have been, and there were like a couple other elements that are not going to make it really succinct and work for other people, but for me, it just works. I have been saying this literally since I saw Gangs of New York 10 years ago, that the thing that does not work the most about Gangs of New York is the casting. If you replace DiCaprio and Cameron Diaz with Colin Farrell and Kate Beckinsale, that movie's a fucking 5 out of 5 masterpiece.
Well,
I'm still
okay.
of that opinion. I've been saying that for
my question, sorry guys. My question for this, since you're comparing the two movies, what were the problematic elements from Testament of Anne Lee then that stood out? Since the casting was not at all.
Right. So it was probably, I'm the wrong person to ask about this because I liked it a lot. I liked it the most out of everybody here. But I would say for me, the dancing sequences, I understood their purpose, but a couple of them went on a little bit long, I would say.
A scene in the
Yeah.
forest was...
Yes, and there were a couple
I actually
of
liked
times.
that one.
Well, don't get me wrong, I loved them for sure, but there were just a couple of them where I'm like, I want a little bit more intense. See, I didn't even mind that. I didn't even mind that because, and the reason why I didn't mind the finger pointing is because the whole movie is set up early on that, oh, these people are kind of influenced almost by what feels like a supernatural trance-esque with their dancing. So with that already being set up and the fact that there is kind of almost like this supernatural guide, much more so than I feel like any other kind of religious sect at that time, the whole pointing and being dragged by what feels like a supernatural presence, it is ridiculous, but it does kind of make sense.
They believe that entity was taking them to their promised land.
Well, it's not even just a matter of belief, though. That's the thing. It kind of goes a little bit further than that. I can say that, again, this is going to sound really artsy and pretentious, but bear with me here. There is a thing of where, like, kind of where you get that deep into kind of like dance, especially when you're amongst a group of people and it becomes a much more so like kind of visceral, a much more primal urge that rational thought can't exactly kind of explain for, but it's a much more animalistic drive, if you will. You know?
I mean, I would say the same thing with like singing or like actually acting out on stage. Like I totally understand what you're trying to say about that.
Yeah,
sure. And I think that was like the strongest thing about the movie was actually like the unconventional use of like music and dance. Like that actually like got me into the movie because I'm a big defender, you know, last year's like Amelia Perez, and I really liked the unconventional like usage of like music in that film. So here doing it again, but this time around using like hymns and like shaker shanties to drive the plot forward and also internalize what all these characters are feeling. Like I really felt that. It's unfortunate that for me, the problem that I had with the movie was more about like just like the whole story arc of like Anne Lee, because once she starts creating like the church and like the movement and everything, you believe it. But then once everything, you know, comes into like this quote unquote perfect place, the whole thing just kind of like stalls. And then the downfall in the third act is kind of just like a little bit rushed for me personally. But even then I did feel some of like the emotions that like Anne Lee was going through, especially when she was being accused of being like the devil or like an entity that is destroying organized religion, even though organized religion is also a cult, like through and through.
Right.
So
very ironic in that sense.
Right. Yeah. So when you see like the scene where Thomasin Mackenzie's like reading, I think like the newspaper or something, like she's spreading the word that like, oh, like our religion is, you know, being like worshipped by people, and like people think that we're worshiping the devil and all that. Like that's not a thing. I mean, that's not like true. They're actually just bringing everybody together. They're trying to like make a community. So I really felt that. But again, just to kind of like reiterate, I think like the last third of the movie kind of like falls off because of just like the rushed like background of like Anne Lee and just her being like stalled after creating the church. So I mean, that's just me, but
Yeah.
I think Amanda Seyfried's like performance in it is fucking great.
Yeah.
It's one of the best of the year. I'm still thinking about a lot of like her like key moments in the movie, and I hope she does get like the Oscar nomination if it does come out like later this year.
Yeah, that's the thing too, because I mean, and you guys were all at the premiere, and I mean, you guys saw literally at the premiere. Well, I mean, no, but literally like at when Mona Fastfold and them all came out, they officially announced that the movie had been picked up by Netflix.
Yes,
so that was the major acquisition. You could tell that like man, Ballad of a Small Player did not work for them, and they're not sure if Frankenstein is going to get there for them. Same with Wake Up Dead Man. So they're like, it's a question of like if Netflix wants an Oscar contender this year, and also with the negative reception that Jay Kelly had coming out of Venice as well. So
but they have House of Dynamite also.
Right, that's the other big one too. So Netflix has options for sure, but it almost felt like they were hedging their bets because a couple of their early ones for Toronto just weren't between Toronto and Venice weren't working out.
But what I will say about Testament of Anne Lee, I don't think it has that wide appeal that like The Brutalist had, or like even Jake Kelly. From what I've heard about it, like it seems like it's going to play a lot better to a Hollywood audience.
Right.
So I think that still could be, but I feel like this is one of those ones. I'll say this about Frankenstein as well, which I think even has more Oscar potential than The Testament of Anne Lee. I think it's like 2 or 3 nominations. Like I don't think it has a huge ceiling in regards to that, especially because Best Picture, I think it just keeps getting more crowded. Now we have no other choice in there. And now we know that Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another is apparently a huge blowout.
Which again, also major fucking risk that Warner Brothers took with that, not premiering that at a festival and opening it wide after pouring $100 million into it, like a big bet, and it seems to be paying off. I think it's going to pay off. Time. I
think it will.
For sure. Yeah, that comes out in about 2 weeks.
I'm so excited, man. Most anticipated movie of the year. But yeah, I think that a lot of these ones, like Wake Up Dead Man, will probably get his lone screenplay nomination. So it's like, I think it's probably going to be somewhere in between Frankenstein and Wake Up Dead Man, if I had to guess. But I think she's coming for that Oscar nomination.
Yeah, for sure. So we're just about an hour, so we're going to start to wrap this up because I know the Emmys are on in a little bit, so we want to get to that as well. But so we're going to just circle around, give one final, like one favorite thought, one kind of wrap-up thought from the festival, and kind of your favorite experience of the festival. Alice, we're going to start with you.
So just as I said before, first TIFF is in the books. My favorite experience from the week was actually related to the Testament of Anne Lee. After the screening, I was with Nathaniel and Jack as well. They both had to run to go to other screenings, so it was just me after the Q&A with Lewis Pullman and Mona Fastfold. And as I'm walking out, they're following me. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of people there that are trying to hunt down the celebrities. That's not my nature, and obviously, it's not the right thing to do either. But I'm just walking out of the TIFF Lightbox, this night's theater, and next thing you know was Lewis Pullman, this tall 6-foot figure whose father was the president from Independence Day.
And was literally just the Sentry in Thunderbolts.
Yes. Marvel star as well now. And then obviously you got Mona, who just wrote The Brutalist with her talented husband, who Nathaniel met last year, Brady Corbet.
And who has the same birthday as me.
That as well, Dom. So just turn around, quickly tell them thank you for the work you do. And then they said thank you. Without you, then we're not here. So it was a very, very heartwarming moment, and very, very humble people, the two of them. So that was my favorite experience. And as I said, maybe 30, 40 minutes ago, this is the first of many TIFFs, and hopefully more celebrity encounters in the future as well.
100%. Jack, going over to you. Just your overall, one of your favorite experiences that came out of the festival this year.
So my favorite experience, there's like there's a lot, because for me, it was just more like seeing people that you follow on like Letterboxd and Twitter, and just seeing them in real life and going like, hey, like I follow you on Twitter, like you do some good job. I mean, some good stuff. And they're like, hey, cool. And we just like link up a little bit and like talk about some of the movies we watch at the festival. But I think one of the best experiences was when I was walking out, I think, to one of my screenings. I got some lunch, and then after I ate lunch, I walked back to like the TIFF Lightbox, and on, I think, the street, I think it was like between, what was it? The TIFF Lightbox and like the coffee shop. I see like this guy, this Irish Scottish guy that looks like familiar, and I'm just like, wait, that's James McAvoy. And I'm like, oh shit, it's James McAvoy. I'm gonna say hi to him. And I said hi to him, and I was just like, hey, I really like your work, and I also really like you in that movie, The Last King of Scotland. That's like my dad's favorite movie. and it was just like, oh, thank you. And I was just like, can I take a picture of you? And he was like, sure, yeah. And then we took a selfie, and like that was that. But usually that corner of that was it festival, like that street, I usually like bump into like random celebrities there, because the last time before, I remember me, Nathaniel, Brian, and some other people, we were walking out of
Tyler
I
was
think
there.
Gabby's. Yeah, Gabby's. We dropped an edible. Sorry for saying that. I don't know if I can say that live.
It's a podcast.
You dropped
Nobody
an
cares.
edible. You
Nobody
dropped
cares.
an edible.
Yeah. So I did. I was kind of like feeling it, and on that corner, I saw Gabriel LaBelle from The Fablemans just like smoking a drag, getting ready for his Uber, and we just walked like right to him and just said, "Hey, like we really like your movies, and can you shake our hand or like whatever?" And he was just like, "Yeah, cool, whatever." And we just like chatted for like a few seconds, and then he like hopped into his like Uber. So I think that like street is just like magical.
Yeah.
And I think every time like I walk past it, like each like TIFF year, I just get like joy and like happiness.
Yeah.
And I'm just really glad I went again this year, and I hope to go for many more years to come.
Yeah. Same.
Absolutely.
Nathaniel, go. Your favorite
Well,
experience.
I'll just quickly rattle off a few. I mean, the fact that I was less than 30 feet away from Natalie Portman at my Arco screening that
I'm
I
still
almost
mad at you
I had
about
to
that.
rush
I'm
to.
still fucking so
Yeah.
pissed at you for
I had to-
that. God damn it.
I had to go out of the
Queen
theater
herself.
to go to the bathroom, and then I walked back in. I know she was looking at me when I kissed. So I'm
Yeah,
like, okay, Natalie Portman
okay.
saw me. That's all
Stretching
good.
reality
So,
a little bit there, but okay.
Well, no, she did see me, but it doesn't like she knows who I am. But we happened to run into Iman Vellani,
Yes,
and
we
she
did.
was really cool.
Yes,
Met
we
our
did.
first Marvel star, and that was a great experience chatting with her a bit about Hamnet. I was almost late to. It was just an accident by some miraculous circumstances, and I ran into Jafar Panahi. I tried to shake his hand, and then security's like, no, you can't. And I just wanted to tell him that I was excited for the movie, and I was just kind of like, oh, well. And he understood. But that might be the only time I see Jafar Panahi, so I had to take my chance. But my goodness, I mean, I don't know. I think one of my best experiences, like probably the most memorable moment to me, was my first Rush line that I did for all my 3 years was to see the voice of Hind Rajab. And I mean, that movie was so overwhelmingly devastating and powerful, not a dry eye in the theater. And then, afterwards, everybody was like up on their feet, talking about this movie. It was an unreal experience. Like I've never experienced a crowd just emotionally in unison like that, and just the power of that screening, the story, everything. I mean, it was one of the best movies of the festival, and so for anyone who's interested in that, I really would highly recommend that. But yeah, that was definitely one of the standout moments for me from the festival, and probably my favorite moment, I would say, overall.
Yeah, and as for me, so there were a couple. Obviously, the Iman Vellani thing, the getting into the Smashing Machine, that was pretty great. A couple of other random encounters. I actually did my first ever press red carpet line, which kind of sucked, but I will say only because literally we had to wait until like literally the last possible minute. It was for Fuse, the David Mackenzie movie starring Aaron Taylor Johnson and Theo James. Aaron Taylor Johnson was not there. Theo James was not there. The only ones that were there were David Mackenzie, Gugu Mbatha-Raw, and Sam Worthington, but just being like this close. I mean, like this close to Sam Worthington as he was like talking to one of the other reporters was really cool. And then they ushered them in because they literally brought him out like not even 10 minutes before the movie started. But the movie itself was really good. But for me, probably my most standout moment was getting to interview Cass Anvar. That was pretty cool. It was I've been getting emails to potentially set up interviews while I was at the festival. I'm like, it's my first festival. I kind of have to. And I was originally supposed to be interview one of the producers for Twin List, the Sundance movie that opened earlier this year just opened in theaters with James Sweeney and Dylan O'Brien. And that interview ended up falling through, but I did end up getting to interview Cass Anvar, a.k.a. Alex Kamal from The Expanse, which is one of my favorite shows. And we just had a really, really great time, a really, really cool conversation. I still have his number, and just like being able to call my mom after that and being like, Mom, I just interviewed somebody from one of my favorite TV shows ever. Like, this is actually surreal. I'm still in the process of editing that interview right now. It will be out sometime this week, along with the Talkin TV Awards, which will be out next week as well. The Emmys are tonight, but let's face it, the Talkin TVs are better anyway, so who cares about that? But with that being said, gentlemen, it was an absolute pleasure to recap the festival with you. It was an absolute pleasure to be able to share that experience with you. It is one that I will remember not only for the rest of this year, but fondly for the rest of my life, as well as some of the funny little conversations that we had in between. Jack, when your mom called you in particular, that was quite an illustrious,
Okay.
quite an illustrious moment, if you will. One of the all-time core memories.
Yeah.
Right there. Oh man, that was great. I won't go
Also-
into too much detail on the
Yeah, we
podcast,
won't.
but that was
We
that
won't.
was so good.
I want to say something on behalf of all of us. Fuck the ice building. That's
Fuck
all I
the
need.
ice building. No, don't not fuck the ice building. Fuck those fucking assholes were there for the concert that set out the fire alarm at 4:30 in the fucking morning. Two nights in a row. Two in a row. It's amazing, absolutely spectacular. So, with that being said, let's all go around and tell us where the good people can follow you. So, Alex, starting with you, do you have any social media spots where you would like to plug online?
I guess it's not a movie podcast, anything of that nature. You guys already stole that spotlight from me. Just guess my normal Instagram, KentAlex1. So Kent as in Clark Kent, Superman, Alex, ALEX, and then the number 1.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, Alex, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the very, very insightful quote that you came up with at the end of our trip. What was that again, just for the viewing audience?
Gonna allow you to say that, Dom, since you.
Oh, come on. No. I could never, ever do that. You were the one who originated it. I can't co-opt it like that.
Fine. I was giving you the spotlight, but I'm gonna take it for myself for once. Artistic and autistic. So.
There we go. Artistic and autistic. And I can't think of a better way to describe just our overall festival experience. Jack, where can the good people follow you on the interwebs?
So you can follow me on YouTube, Swerve Master 18. I'm just doing a lot of TIFF reviews. I'm cranking them out like candy right now. So just follow my YouTube. That's going along. You can also follow me on Letterboxd, Swag Healy, SWAGHILI123. Or you can just know my name, Jack Uffer, JACKUFFER. I'm eventually going to change everything to my government name, because it's just getting all over the place, and I just kind of need to condense everything together.
All you need to do is come up with just one uniform name that's going to be across everything. Honestly, dude, the CEO of sex, I can't think of a more appealing fucking title, just in terms of
Hey man, I have a job. I can't do that.
Listen, a day job is a day job, you know? It happens,
right.
You know? Listen, if anything, I would use that as a point. And if they ever confront you about that, being wait, you're the CEO of sex? I'll be I mean, there's only one way to find out. At least that would be my response to it. That would be my response to it.
I mean, yeah.
But
I can do that.
Yeah, exactly. See, there you go. Nathaniel, where can the good people follow you on the interwebs?
So you can find me on, I think, virtually all social media platforms at Nathaniel_Ahart, and of course on YouTube under Nathaniel Ahart. Going to be cranking out those TIFF reviews. I'm still, I haven't gotten any up except the little Amelie of the character Rain. But yeah, really going to be pumping those out. And also to throw out another iconic Alex Kent quote, no shoving, just loving. So.
Oh, it's the absolute best. It's the absolute best. Alex, please, you got to keep coming up with these quotes. They're so good. I don't know where you come up with them from, but they're always great. And of course, you guys can follow me with everything going on at Movie Nerd Reviews across all platforms, at Official Talkin TV Podcast across all platforms. Be sure to subscribe, leave this video a like if you haven't already, and be sure to follow me across all the other platforms as well. And for myself, Nathaniel, Jack, and Alex, we'll see you guys next year for TIFF 1, 12 seasons in a short film. We'll see you guys next time. And in this case, watch more fucking movies.